If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that sub button for more amazing content. Now, let's jump straight into the video. What's good, YouTube, and welcome back to the Bofino One podcast, and I am your host, Bofino One. And as you guys can see by the title, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about auto loan delinquencies and them being on the rise. So pretty much meaning that a lot of people that went out and, got their car loans, for their car, whatever, they're now falling behind, and essentially, they're getting repoed or whatever the case is. So without further ado, let me share my screen. You guys can see me. And this is the article that I wanted to go through and read through with you guys. So it's titled Auto Loan Delinquencies Rise as Loan Accommodation Programs End. So the article says, with inflation cutting into the budgets of Americans, a growing percentage of people with auto loans are struggling to make their monthly payments. TransUnion, which tracks more than 81 million auto loans in the U.S., said Tuesday the percentage of loans that are at least 60 days delinquent hit 1.65% in the third quarter, the highest rate for 60-day delinquencies in more than a decade. That's, 1.65%. Probably doesn't sound like a lot, right? Like you're like, oh, that's only 1.65%. But I guess if you compare that, like in comparison to, how many people have cars, that's still a lot. And the fact that meaning like delinquent, like meaning that 60 days, people are like 60 days past due, or you know what I mean? Like that's crazy. So anyway, it says in quotes, consumers still want to stay current as best as they can. It's just this inflationary environment is making it challenging. Close quote. Satyan Merchant, Senior Vice President of TransUnion, told CNBC, in quotes, it leaves fewer dollars in their pockets to make the auto loan payment because they got to pay more for eggs and milk and other things, close quotes, which is true. But it also could be arguable that like, okay, if prices of, let's just say, eggs or anything went up just a little bit and you were already like, now it's like you can't make your payment. Some people would argue and say that, well, if that was the case, you probably shouldn't have got the car to begin with, because that means that you essentially had no money left over for like an emergency fund, or you had no money left over. You know what I'm saying? Like in case something was to happen, you had no money left over. So yes, I do get what they're saying about like, okay, inflation is killing people, but then I also feel like it's a sense of, okay, well, you probably bought a car that's probably too expensive for you. You probably shouldn't have got it to begin with. If a couple extra dollars for, and I know it's more than a couple extra dollars for groceries, but you get what I'm saying. So the biggest impact is being felt among subprime borrowers who have lower credit scores and often have lower income. And this is true here because in general, when you go to get a car and you have lower credit score, a lot of time your APR, meaning the interest that you own or owe on the car, is going to be higher. So like you're already paying more as it is. And then if you bought a car during like the prime pandemic or like, well, the prime inflationary, like during this time when cars and everything is just out of control and you have low credit, you're literally paying like an arm and a leg. So in September, the average transaction price for a new vehicle was $47,138 and up, almost $2,600 compared with the year earlier period, according to the auto research firm Edmunds. The average price paid for a used vehicle was $30,566, a jump of almost $2,500 from September of 2021. And we all know used cars are like just as high. I mean, they're coming down, but a lot of them are just as high as new cars because of the whole chip shortage and people are wanting cars and they can't get them. So they're like, hey, I want a car now. I'm just going to go ahead and get a used car. So the rise in delinquencies also follows the end of loan accommodation programs set up during the pandemic. Those programs were designed to help consumers who may have lost their job to avoid having a car repossessed because they couldn't make the monthly payment. In quotes, there has been this effect where the delinquency that may have occurred over the last few years is really just pushed out or delayed because that consumer didn't have to make payments on their status was on an accommodation. So now some of those are hitting. So, I mean, like I said, I guess in terms of someone losing their job, that's different. But like I said before, I still feel like it applies where it's like, if you was a person that if a little bit of an increase in something makes it so you can't pay your car note, you probably realistically couldn't afford it to begin with. TransUnion said approximately 200,000 auto loans that previously took advantage of the pandemic era accommodations are now listed as 60 days delinquent. About 100,000 accounts that are more than 60 days delinquent remain in accommodation program, the credit firm said. Despite the rise in delinquencies, Merchant believes The auto loan market remains healthy. The average interest rate for a new vehicle loan climbed to 5.2% in the third quarter, while the average rate for a used vehicle loan hit 9.7%, according to TransUnion. Both are up more than 1% point compared with the year earlier period. Those higher interest rates are pressuring many consumers to stretch out the terms of their loans to at least 7 years, merchants said. Still, delinquency rates have been kept somewhat in check by low unemployment. And that is true. Like, car notes are getting so high that people are like, it was, I think back in the day, what was it, like a 4-year car note? Now it's a 6-year. Now you're starting to see like 6.5, like 72 months. Some are like 7 years. Eventually, people are going to be, if the car loans amount don't go down, people are literally going to be paying like on a car 10 years, which is absurd, because by then, I mean, that car literally has no value really to it at that point. I mean, in the first few years, I believe you lose like up to 40% or close to 40% of the car's value. It depreciates. So, and then it says in quotes, if we get into a position where employment starts to be a challenge in the United States and unemployment increases, that is when the industry will really start to be concerned about a consumer's ability to pay their auto loans. I mean, that's true too. Like, if more people start to become unemployed, then yes, people will not be able to pay, but also people will not be buying cars. And that's kind of what we're starting to see now. You can start to see prices on cars are slowly starting to drop just due to the demand is starting to cool off. And that's because people have lost their jobs, and people also due to inflation. So like I said, we'll see. I just thought this was a cool one to share, just because I know like cars, like 2020 was the big prime when, people had 0% APR. So essentially you were paying no interest. You were just paying the principal, meaning the loan amount that you took out, but you had no interest on it. Now you see the prices of the APR on these cars. It's ridiculous. And, like I said, it's going to get to a point where people are literally going to be paying like, you're going to have to stretch your loan out to like 8, 9, 10 years just to pay it out to have a reasonable monthly payment. But let me know your guys' thoughts about this down below in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.